Hi. So it has been a while since I've done a video. In my last video I mentioned that I got a new job, which subsequently ended a few months later, but not before greatly disappointing me in how the job actually was and in what I was supposed to be doing. It wasn't a great experience overall, and it was like mixed in with other personal life stuff, and then I needed to take time back. So apologies if you actually care about these videos, all for people who watch them. I guess I had to deal with the sudden unemployment that I found myself in, which I still found myself in. Not fun, but I'm taking part in the Collab Club's current monthly theme for mental health videos, which is coping. And I'm going to talk about my experience of coping with unemployment as someone who has pretty much been working since the age of 16. So it's about 10 years. It makes me feel old saying that, but I've been working for my entire adult life and the entire way through education. So it was a weird experience, and I wouldn't recommend it. But here's how I dealt with it. My first mistake in trying to deal with the sudden unemployment was rather than focus on the fact that I suddenly lost my job, I was focusing on trying to do something else instead. And I don't mean trying to find a new job, which I was still doing. I launched into a big project straight away. It's still something I want to complete, but it's something that I found that because I hadn't worked on something big from start to finish in over a year at that point, I wasn't really in the mindset of taking something from, pre-production all the way to post-production, because it was a video project, and I wasn't even vlogging regularly, so I wasn't in the mindset of making videos all the time, and I kind of overwhelmed myself just with that one project. So not good. It's the first thing I would recommend people don't do, is to jump into something that is bigger than them, especially if they're going to do it by themselves, because then any issues that arise, they're all on that person. So in my case, any issues that arose with the project, they were all on me, and I was already in a bad place but not really admitting it and trying to brush off how I felt about the entire situation. So that's bad. Roll on January, and we have the New Year's, which I usually take advantage of the New Year's. I like New Year's resolutions. I find them a great way to force myself to do something. So I set myself a monthly resolution, so I do a new thing every month. January I wrote 31 short stories. They're all 1,000 word stories, and while I don't recommend everyone do that, I recommend everyone find something small they can do every day if they suddenly find themselves out of a job and out of routine, because it gives you small wins every single day, and it's a way of building up confidence in yourself again and maintaining some positivity while you're on a job hunt, because usually it's kind of hard to do something well if you're not positive about it, and when you turn into pleading and negative when you're looking for a job, it comes off in cover letters and in interviews, and it's not really the best way to be. You stand a better chance if you're positive and energetic. After my 31 stories in January, I shifted gears to drawing every day in February, because shorter month and also something I had less experience with, so I was trying to get used to drawing something. I wanted to work on some comics as a writer, but I wanted to understand the illustration process, at least a little bit. So I took up drawing every day, mostly mediocre fan art, but it was fun, and it was calming, and it was teaching me something new about how I'd focus on drawing things every day. Then came March, and I brought about the first big project I had worked upon since my thesis, which was finished in August 2015. I wrote a short book. It's longer than any of the other books I've written. It's called A Death in the Family. I'm releasing it at my first convention this year, which is next weekend. It's KCON, and I managed to get the entire thing complete in time to get the books more than a week in advance of the convention. It was a fun experience writing that book, because it dealt with somebody getting a new job. It dealt with changes in someone's life that were out of his control, and it dealt with a millennial who was suddenly finding himself in a position of having to bow to a sudden corporate life that he wasn't used to, while trying to manage his life around his family as well. So it was it was very much my experience of being someone in their mid-20s, even if I'm not A, from America, or B, a Grim Reaper, which is where the book gets its title. He is literally death. And that book was like my first big win, and when I finished it, I felt really good about myself for probably the first time in, I'd say, a year. Not that, you know, smaller things didn't mean a lot to me, but I hadn't brought something that big to completion in a long time, and I hadn't done it by myself in a long time. The last time I'd finished a book and brought it to publication was with The Hounds of Hell, and that was in 2013. So it was a big gap in time. Stepping Forward was mostly a cover redesign, and I changed the ending, and that was it. So it was my first big win, and it encouraged me to go on and do other things. So I managed to finish up a comic project as well, which we should hopefully have back from the printers in time for KCON as well. I wrote one story, and my friend Tracy wrote one story, and our stories were illustrated by Venus DeFilo. So hopefully we'll have that little gothic collection. It's called Tales You Think You Know. Tracy's is a story about an elf who lives in a house that people are slowly moving into. It's called My New Housemates. And I wrote the untold story of Little Bo Peep, which is actually a poem that I had written years ago, and I added more to it so I can make it an 8-page comic. My tips from all of the experience, just to kind of summarize, because summaries at the end of things are generally quite useful. 1, allow yourself to come to terms with this sudden change in your life. It matters in every single instance where something comes out of your control in your life, but in my case specifically with unemployment, it is largely out of your control and in somebody else's control, and that's never a good feeling, even if there was nothing wrong with anything you did. So, you know, it can be company reasons why you had to leave, which as it was in my case. You need to give yourself time to deal with that, because if you don't, you will find yourself not knowing how to move forward properly. It's the same with coming out of a relationship, or if somebody dies, you need to grieve in a sense, and if you don't do that, it makes the next steps more difficult, unless you're extremely lucky and get into a job straight away, which some people do. 2, aim to complete smaller things for the daily wins, because this helps not only push away the negativity that can come from having lost something big like a job, it also helps to maintain the positivity that you need to go forward. 3, work up to something bigger. So not just applying for jobs all the time, but to actually try complete a bigger project, because it'll give you a bigger sense of accomplishment, and it is something you can actually put on a CV if you need to update something. And 4, use the positivity that you get from completing all of your smaller tasks and your bigger task to power your efforts in a job search if you are still looking for a job, because it's a way to be able to make yourself more appealing to potential employers, because you'll be showing that you can both complete things and maintain a positive mindset regardless of the situation that you're in, which is generally quite helpful in most jobs, even if they don't advertise that in their job descriptions. So hopefully someone found something useful in this video. I'm obviously not a careers expert, but I do have some experience with managing my own mental health in difficult situations, so I think I can speak pretty well, at least on behalf of creatives and to creatives, on how to deal with that sort of situation. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back with more videos in the future, maybe after KCON, because there's quite a bit to do. But yeah, in the meantime, bye.